Express them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and FreedomSlips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, FreedomSlips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Hello. Pardon me, folks. Hello, welcome to Talk Now Radio. This is your host, Royce the Redneck Radio Man. And joining me today is going to be Willy Whitefeather. But before we get into this here, I want to thank everybody for all your support and prayers during the time I was in the hospital. And also I'd like to remind everybody that Talk Now Radio and Revolution Radio are both listener-supported radios. So, you know, anything you do for the donations or the ads you see on the webpage, to click on them and make use of them, it all goes to keeping both of us on the air and live and censorship free. So don't forget to look into that if you like what you're hearing and you want to hear more of it. As you know, I bring on new guests on a very regular basis, so my stuff shouldn't, be old or stale or anything with the amount of new guests I tend to get. So, Willie, how are you doing today? Hello, Willie. I think he stepped away for a minute.
Oh.
Willie, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. I said hello, Willie, and I didn't hear you for a minute, so I thought I lost you.
Oh, no, you won't lose me.
Okay. Well, Willie, I think today I was telling everybody that you wanted to talk to them a little bit about survival in the wild. I know you got a handbook out on that, but you're also a storyteller, and you wanted to share some stories, and you also wanted to share a little bit about Nibiru and its passing close to the earth. And I believe you said there was an Indian gentleman that's got a YouTube video, or a man named Carlos, that has been making predictions about things that are happening actually just before they happen in regards to the passing of Nibiru. So where would you like to get a start at?
Well, first of all, I'll start with, as a storyteller, if I say something wrong or incorrect, I always say, don't believe it. That way, I have no control over my audience. Just enjoy the story, because the word believe has the word lie in the middle, and I don't want to lie to you. So I've taught survival to 2 Army battalions at Fort Huachuca, Arizona. I lived out in the desert for 20 years, and I show them how to make a good camp and how to survive in the desert, and how to stay cool, and how to keep from poisoning yourself if you get poisoned, what to do about it. And because they're our boys, and we got to take care of our boys, and that's the main thing, and girls too. So we have a situation coming, and I feel a little bit like Paul Revere. He was yelling out, the British are coming, the British are coming. 1 lantern in the tower if they come by land, and 2 if the British come by sea. Well, we have a situation here in the United States now because they're taking us from within. The British have got that yellow gold fringe, which is British maritime law, not constitutional law, and they got it on our American flag. And when the Marines raised the flag on Iwo Jima, there was no gold fringe around the edge of the flag. And so they're ripping up our Constitution, and everybody's hollering about the Second Amendment, take away the guns. Why? Because the Second Amendment protected the Third Amendment, which means that they can come in your house and they can sleep on your bed and kick you out, and you're going to sleep on the front lawn. And so that's why we got all these millions of Americans that are homeless right now. So the Constitution, you don't even talk about it. It's just the law of the land. That's why we're Americans. And so how many of you all were born in America? Raise your hands. Yeah, let me see. Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right. Well, aren't you Native Americans? Learn this land. When Columbus came to this land, he was looking for India. So the first people he saw, he called them Indians. It's a good thing he wasn't looking for Turkey. And so we got to take care of it, you know. Now, my dad's side of the family is Cherokee, and my mother's side of the family was from Buenos Aires, Argentina. And so I speak a little Spanish, mucho gusto, and ocio, hello, in Cherokee. Now, I invite the listeners to take your index finger and make a big letter O in the air, O in front of you, O. Now, inside the O, put a little letter C inside that. Now, inside the letter C, put a little O. And the Englishmen took that for their copyright logo. OCO is hello in Cherokee. And so Grandpa used to say, Will, how many deputy sheriffs does it take to throw a Cherokee down the stairs? And I say, well, how many, Grandpa? And he'd say, why, none. He accidentally tripped and fell. And so, Cherokees was shot. If you shot a rabbit in 1834, 35, and you shot a Cherokee, why the rabbit was if the rabbit was out of season, well, you'd get a fine. If you shot the Indian, well, no problem. And then, like Will Rogers said, he was Cherokee. He was a Cherokee roll number on the rolls. 11384, I believe. It's on his tombstone in Oklahoma. And Will Rogers said, you know, folks, them pilgrims, they prayed a lot, probably for some more of that good Indian corn. They always had a gun next to them while they was praying. That's to make sure they'd get what they was praying for. And so he was a good old boy. He taught us how to become a human being. The main problem in this world, I'm telling you these stories because I want you all to survive, and I'm going to give you some survival tips in a moment. The main problem with this world today is a lot of folks are still on the boat. Nina Pinta Santa Maria. First name, middle name, last name. Goldilocks, 3 bears, 3 blind mice, 3 little pigs, IRS, CIA, FBI, ABC, NBC. Point your finger, your troubles come back in threes. And so we got now 3 Mile Island and all these problems today. So let's try it. Now, the Soviet Union, now they're trying it again, and they want to take over this country. That's why Mr. Obama, our illustrious leader, has made Mrs. Brownell, she is the czar of energy and power. And then there's a fellow by the name of Mr. Ray, and he's the czar of Ebola. We got more czars than Russia. And so, that bunch is going to find out the circle. You see, when you throw a pebble in a pool of quiet water, it makes circles. If you cut down a tree, you look at the tree stump, it makes circles. What goes around comes around. And so that was all lessons long ago from the corn giver. Her hair was the color of the sun. And when you open the corn, you can see the strands of her golden hair. And you eat the corn raw, it's lactic like your mother's milk. And so that's why the Hopi have 68 recipes for corn. The corn is the only food that makes you eat in a circle. What goes around comes around. And so the main problem today in this country is everybody's still on the boat. Try it. Stick your thumb up. What does it mean? Hey, all right, way to go. Hey, fantastic. All right, now put your thumb down. Now stick out your index finger, your pointing finger. Shame on you. Look what you've done. That's all the news and the newspapers and so on. That's the judgment finger. Now put that one down. Now stick up your middle finger. You know what that means. These 3 fingers run the country. You never know which one you're going to get. To become a human being, the Cherokee way, your grandfather showed me, you don't point your finger at somebody. The Great Spirit made you, Great Spirit made me. So you bend your finger. You say, see how you are? What can I do to help you? Now you've become a human being. And so I graduated from 3rd grade to 4th grade. Cherokee look at the tree. Tree's got roots. I got roots. Tree drinks water. I drink water. Tree branches out. I'm branching out. And so me and the tree were the same. The Navajo, my Navajo friend showed me, they're called Dene, which means the people. All the tribal names mean the people. Salaki, Cherokee, the people. Dene, Navajo, the people. Lakota, the people. All the tribal names mean the people. Apache, the people. And so the Navajo, the Dene, she showed me, we point with our thumb on top of our fist, turn the hand upside down, and we say, oh, look at that beautiful rainbow, or look at that beautiful sunset. They never judge what the Creator made. That's impolite. And so the Apache people, they point with their lower lip over to the right, or they move it to the left, or they're straight ahead. Who's that over there? And they point to the right. And so that's the way of this land. This land is called the Great Turtle Island. Now, I'm going to get to that survival talk in a moment. Okay. All right. Now, the head of the turtle is South America. The long neck, like a snapping turtle, is Central America. The shoulders are Mexico. One leg that sticks out in the water to the east, that's Florida. That's the leg of winds. Over on the right, the leg that sticks out in the water, that's the leg that shakes. That's Baja California and California. The little short leg in the northeast, that's the leg of ice. That's where they're getting all the ice and the snow. And in the northwest, up here in the northwest, is the leg of fire. Mount St. Helens, Mount Lassen, Mount Rainier, Three Sisters volcano, and so on. And so this is the voice of the Great Turtle Island. That's why the Cherokee at the Redbird Smith stomp growl, the caller calls out, Yahoo ho ho leya! And the 7 blessed women come out shaking their turtle shell rattles. They're trying to tell the tourists, watch for these things, be prepared. And so this is the voice of the turtle. And so now Brother Moon is giving us signs. And so half moon is cause, full moon is effect. The Victorian era, the greed that came over on the boat is going to go out. It spells D, half moon, O is full moon, V-E, day comes in. D-O-V-E, divine order verified eternally. And in Spanish, escucho los dis, escucho los os, que son Dios. And so this is the voice of the turtle, and they call it a turtle dove. And so this is the voice of the turtle dove and the turtle. See, the vibration, that's what's causing it. And now Mother Earth is crying out. And our Mother Earth, this will help you in your knowledge of survival. Our Mother Earth is a living being, and we walk on her skin. Her hair is white, the North Pole. The lakes are her eyes. The surrounding trees around the lakes are her eyelashes, so she can look up at the stars and the beauty of Brother Sun, Sister Moon. And sometimes it goes back and forth. Sister Moon, Brother Sun, Brother Moon, Sister Sun. And so the Hopi word for moon is the Tibetan word for sun. The Tibetan word for moon is the Hopi word for sun. Taiwa, Muya, Muya, Taiwa. Long ago, we were all one people, eh? And so the her nose is Mount Humphrey, highest mountain in Arizona by Flagstaff, and that's her nose in the San Francisco Peak. And so her nostril is below Mount Humphrey, and it's called the United States Government Blowhole State Park. And she breathes in at 30 miles an hour, and she breathes out at 30 miles an hour. There's a 2-hour lull in between. And so the other nostril is over by Mount Taylor, New Mexico. If you make a fist, look at the back of your hand. You see the 4 mountains? If you make a tight fist, you can see the snow on top of the mountains. And so there's, on the little finger, the mountain sticking up, that's Mount Taylor, New Mexico. That's where the other nostril is. And then the next one, is the color for east is yellow, and that's Mount Hesperus, Colorado. And then the color for west is black. Look at the women today. They're all wearing black. And that's the Cherokee were taking on the Trail of Tears toward the west, the black. And so that's Mount Humphrey, Arizona, on your middle finger. And then the next one is white, Pina Blanca, Utah. And so we have red, yellow, black, white. Red man, yellow man, white man, black man, the four colors of corn, see? And so if you spread your fingers out real slow, we're going fourth to fifth swirl. It's the European sign for no. No hunting, no fishing, no smoking, no parking, no. Didn't that people ever say yes? Goodness sakes. So the kids today is all strangled with restrictions in the schools, and they give the kid a stick and let him go play barefoot in the mud, for God's sakes. Kids are we're all disconnected from the earth. So let's get together with the earth. And I live up here with a herd of deer, wild turkeys, and an occasional bear and mountain lion up here on this mountain. So let's take a look. In survival, the number one thing is attitude. Now, remember when you point your finger, your trouble comes back in threes? So
right.
Khrushchev didn't know that. He pointed his finger at President Nixon, and he said, "We will bury you." Oh, yeah, sure. So it came back on him. This was the front page of the Phoenix, Arizona Republic newspaper. I'll put it alphabetically, A, B, C. And drop off Brezhnev, Chernenko. All three died after he said that. And drop off, A, was buried February 14th, 1984. B, Brezhnev was buried November 14th, 1982. And C, Chernenko was buried March 14th, 1983. And so, I'm sorry, 1985. Yeah, March 14th, 1985, Chernenko. Now, ABC. See, your trouble comes back in threes. So you want to become a human being. Now, it's survival. Now, if we get a volcano going off, I'll give you some survival tips. Number one, grandfather said one day little sister would scream, and that was Mount St. Helens. When a woman screams, she can break the glass with her voice. The glass is made from silica sand. So that's what came out of Mount St. Helens, and she was the first artisan of the Catholic Church to make the stained glass window for the Catholic Church. Because the churches were all black inside, and she sold the Pope on the idea at that time on a stained glass window. Let's not worship the sun, but look at the beauty of the sun coming through the stained glass. So, since nobody did anything, grandfather said, then a higher power will do it for us. And that's why Nibiru is coming in, because our Mother Earth is screaming, and she's in pain, and people can hear the sounds in the sky. They sound like, oh, like a woman crying, and she's opening up her heart to us. When you get the word heart in an unbroken circle, it spells earth. And those are the sinkholes. And what we're supposed to do as human beings is to leave a better world for the future for the children. And so we're supposed to throw all the nuclear weapons of war down in those sinkholes. They got a sinkhole in Siberia that's so deep they can't find the bottom. Throw them weapons down there. Make a world for the kids. Don't kill everybody. So it comes back on you. For example, Mr. Rockefeller said a few years ago on television, we need to eliminate 90% of the world population. Well, la-di-da. So watch it come back on him now. And so he said on TV, it's easy to control population. It's like feeding pigeons in the park. You give them good pigeon feed, and then when there are too many pigeons, you give them poison pigeon feed. And when enough of them have died, then you give them good pigeon feed again. So even on those Georgia stone slabs they got in that field out in Georgia, carved into cement, it says reach the population to 500 million. Right now, there's 7.5 billion. Well, if all the people in the whole world got together in Australia, everybody would have 1 acre. So just because you're driving a car that's 15 foot long and 6 foot wide, it don't mean you gotta kill that person. It don't look like overpopulation. It's just everybody's crowded next to the oceans. So let's take care of each other. So 3 months ago, Dr. Richard Rockefeller took off in his little airplane to go to Grandfather Rockefeller's birthday party. And, well, he crashed and he died. And he was the heir to the $1 trillion Rockefeller fortune. So there's an example of getting rid of the population, ain't it? And Dick Cheney voted for torture, and so now it dropped us below the level of human being, because the final judgment at Nuremberg on those Nazi war criminals, the American judges said this: the laws of humanity are greater than the laws of man. So Mr. Cheney goes pheasant hunting with his attorney friend and lines up his shotgun, and he said it was an accident, and boom, he shot the attorney in the face. And Dick Cheney said on television, "This was the worst day of my life." Well, how do you think torture victims feel, Mr. Cheney? You see, what goes around comes around. And so if the volcano goes off, as his name is Carlos Maurice Ferraro, and he's 100 years old, and he's been watching this thing for 50 years. He calls it Hercules. It sounds like here comes Columbus. So Hercules is approaching at 300 miles per minute. He calls it a comet planet because it's the speed of a comet, but yet it's the size of a planet. In comparison, the Earth is like an orange, and Planet X, Hercules, or Nibiru, is the size of a cantaloupe. And he said everybody's going to see it. And I call it the laundromat planet, because when people see it, they're going to dirty their underwear, and laundromats are going to be packed. Now, out in Mineral Wells, Texas, I love it. Texas is great. They got a laundromat. It's called Laundromat, and that's Texan for laundromat. I love that. Hey, guys are great. I'm really honored to be speaking in Texas. If
I am a Texan.
Huh?
I am a Texan. I just never heard a laundromat called that.
Yeah, it's in Mineral Wells, Texas.
That's why. I'm in the big city, Houston.
Yeah, it's called Laumdronaut, Laundronaut. And so, big sign. So anyway, things are happening on half moon, full moon. I'll give you an example. On the new moon of October 28th, a 90-year-old man was arrested for feeding homeless people in Florida. Now, golly sakes, folks, Americans are givers. When they had a earthquake in Russia, Gorbachev was visiting President Reagan. He says, I got to get back to Russia because the whole doggone city fell down. And Americans sent boatload after boatload of food and clothing and medical supplies to that city in Russia. And the mayor of the city said, stop sending stuff. You're sending too much. And so we are givers. And so the 90-year-old man was arrested in Florida for giving food to the homeless people. Now, that's not American, you see.
Doesn't sound American to me.
At the same time, a $1 million rocket ship loaded with supplies in Florida was loaded with food and supplies to take it up to those astronauts up there on the space shuttle platform, whatever they call it. And it blew up. on the new moon of October 28, 2014. So, in the same week. So here, the people in Florida, the homeless, didn't get their food, and the astronauts didn't get their food. So as above, so below. What goes around comes around, see? Now, we're all connected to the earth. From the bottom of our foot to our waist, we're earth. From our waist to about one hand above our navel, we're water. From our navel up to our throat, we're air. From our throat to the top of our head, we're fire. And we have 7 openings in our head, and the sign of the Cherokee Nation is the 7-pointed star. And so today is the 8th. Now, I want everybody listening, I want you to take and write number 8 on a little piece of paper and put it in your wallet next to your money. Glennis McCann, the numbers lady, was on Coast to Coast Radio talking about the power of 8. And so I want you all to be rich and have money and see money coming to you, she said. The story goes much deeper as to why. The 8-pointed star is the star of the Creator. The 7-pointed star is the sign of the Cherokee. Across the water is the land of the 6-pointed star people. The Soviet Union took a star with a hammer and sickle in it. China took a red star, and so Star Wars. And George Lucas spoke with a Cherokee medicine man, Rolling Thunder, before he made the movie Star Wars. So it's all hidden in the Cherokee alphabet by Sequoia. They named the great big trees after him. And so that's in the Cherokee language also. And so every day with an 8, you light a green candle. So today you light a green candle, sit in front of for about 15 minutes, ask the Creator to send money to you. And it happens. I give this out to friends, and I've had so many phone calls, they go like, Willie, I can't believe it. My money came in. I say, well, I'm very happy for you. Who was this? and so it works. When I first heard about it about 4 years ago, I went in the casino. I was in New Mexico, and I went over to the Taos Pueblo Casino, and I pulled a handle on the slot machine. Hey, I won $800. I went back the next day. I won $400. So I did a radio show on the Red Line Network, and howdy all you out there in New Mexico. And I said, everybody listen to this show. I'm going to send you good prayers that abundance comes to you, because I know folks need money right now. And they're trying to turn America into a third world country. The Russian ruble has fallen. The euro dollar is going down, and oil prices are going down, and they're bringing in all kinds of foreign folks across our borders, and so they want to turn us into a third world country. But we are not third world. This is the fourth world, and things are happening in fourth, and we're going to fifth world. And that's the European sign for no. It's a 45-degree angle, 4 to 5. And so they've had to restripe the lines at the airport in Tampa, Florida, and put them at a 45-degree angle because the poles are melting, and we're going north to northwest. An example, an earthquake struck Santa Cruz, California, 4 years ago, and the lady ran out of the front door. The man was upstairs taking a bath. He jumps out of the bathtub. He runs down the stairs, and he wanted to save something. And he grabs this big grandfather clock, and he runs out on the front lawn, and he's stuck naked, and his wife is laughing at him, standing out there on the front lawn. And what's the spiritual message? Here's a man with nothing but time on his hands, or he was trying to save time. Anyway, when you're
Where's
a bad little
when
kid
you need one?
and you want to eliminate 90% of the world population, our Mother Earth has something to say about it. So a little volcano in Iceland erupts, and when you're a bad little kid, your parents say, you go to the room, you're grounded. And so this little volcano in Iceland erupts. It's got a long name, can't pronounce it, and it sends ash all over Europe. So all the bankers and the Illuminati and the Bilderbergers and the Rockefellers, they couldn't fly nowhere in Europe because the volcanic ash clogs the engine on the aircraft, and they crash. And it'll do the same to your car. So I'm going to give you a survival tip what to do in a minute. So all these people were all grounded, and because they ain't got no love for people, they just love the money, you see. So just pass the money around and come back to you. What goes around comes around. I go out and I hand out maybe $100 to homeless people. Then I go over to the casino and I win it back. It just worked a circle. And so you're going to see when Mount St. Helens erupted, the people had to get out of there. You take a cloth, porous cloth, or not a gas mask, but put a cloth over your nose and wet it. Wring the water out of it and put it over your face, because the volcanic ash gets in your eyes, your ears, your nose, your mouth, your throat, your lungs, and that way the dampness catches it, so it don't go in your nose and mouth. And you keep a spray bottle with you of water and keep wetting it. Okay, now to protect your eyes, you go to the hardware store and you get those goggles the painters use to protect around your eyes, the sides, and the top. Okay, they're about anywhere from $1 to $5 for a set of those. Now, if you got contact lenses, you take them off, because the volcanic ash gets between your eyeball and the contact lens, and it's like sandpaper. So you got to protect your eyes. Put an earplug in your ear, because the ash gets inside your ear. Put a cloth or around your neck so the ash don't go down the back of your shirt, because it's itchy. And wear a cap or a hat, and stock up. Be prepared. Be prepared for the worst and expect the best, because it's like John Denver's song. These changes in the weather, we're all in this together. It's all of us or none. It's about people, it's about places, and it's about time. Anyway, he ran out of gas and crashed in the ocean. So I want you all to make it. Now, Carlos Maurice Forero, the 100-year-old astronomer, he said, people want to know, when's this thing going to show up? He said, everybody's going to see it. And so it's not the end of the world. It's just a cleansing. Our Mother Earth is dirty, and she's going to take a bath, splash around in the bathtub. She's going to blow her nose, powder her face, put on fresh makeup, and come out of the ocean, and like a dog coming out of a lake, to shake. And those are the earthquakes. So he said, watch. He made a big triangle on the earth. He said, watch for the approach of Hercules or Nibiru or Planet X, whatever you want to call it, for the earthquakes to pick up between Peru and Chile, between France and Spain, and in Indonesia. Watch for the earthquakes to pick up in those areas, and that will mark the approach. Okay? And I want you all to make it. So it's like shaking a bag of popcorn. Now, you go to watch a movie, and you got a bag of popcorn, and what do you do with it when you start getting the tooth busters hitting your teeth? You shake it. You shake the bag. And all the tooth busters, all the grunt heads, people that don't care about people, they go down. They're all prepared. They're all going to make them tunnels like a bunch of gophers down in the earth. Hope you stay up on top this time and be safe. Now, when the volcano Luis de Nevado volcano erupted in Colombia, and that was on the 14th. I had the newspaper clipping. It was on the front page of one of the Arizona newspapers. But anyway, 20,000 people lived below the volcano, kind of like Pompeii. Everybody had a big town right under the volcano, just like Hawaii. Kilauea volcano is the center of the Ring of Fire, and it's pushing lava, and it's about half a mile from the gas station in a little town in Hawaii. And so don't build under a under a volcano.
I'm trying to
Not too
figure out why
smart.
anybody would build a town under a volcano.
Uh, uh, say that again for me.
I said I'm trying to figure out why anybody would build a town at the bottom of a volcano. You'd think they'd know what would be bound to happen sooner or later, wouldn't you?
That's right. It's like that movie with Pierce Brosnan. It was called Dante's Peak. Every volcano gives at least 90 days warning before it blows. So Ruiz del Nevado volcano in Colombia, it started September 1983. It blew a plume of smoke. I believe it was in 1983. Anyway, I have the newspaper thing in my survival book. I didn't have it next to me, and it blew a plume of smoke and ash. And the government of Colombia rerouted aircraft 5 miles away from the volcano. The people who had ash on their roofs, the villages down below, they said, "Should we move?" And the government said, "No, it's okay. We'll warn you in time." Okay. So the next month, it blew ash and rocks the size of golf balls into the air, and the government of Colombia rerouted the airplanes 10 miles away from the volcano. The people said, "Should we move?" And they had 3 inches of ash on their rooftops. No, it's okay," said the government. "We'll tell you when to move." So on the 14th, I believe it was May 14th, 1983, Ruiz del Nevado volcano in Colombia erupted, and 20,000 people died. The government said, "We were going to blow the whistle at the fire station, but the lava and the mud and the water all came down the mountain and took out the fire station, so we couldn't blow the whistle to warn the people." God, that's brilliant. You know, when Mount St. Helens erupted, our illustrious government printed, at taxpayers' cost, a pamphlet, "What to do in case of volcanic eruption." And it said, "In case of volcanic eruption, move away from volcano. Do not move toward the volcano." Gosh.
Wow, there's a real deep insight for you.
Yeah. So, now, what you do if you're cold, and there was this fella, he was a military man and his wife doing a survival show, and she says, "Oh, I'm so cold, I'm freezing to death." Well, he knew how to make a fire by rubbing 2 sticks together, and I do that. They put me on that computer. Now, I don't have no computer, but you can see it on that YouTube. You just go www. Willy Whitefeather. That's willy.com, Willy Whitefeather, and you can see I made a fire in 19 seconds. I did it on Channel 13 television by rubbing 2 sticks together, the old Cherokee way. Now, what you do if you're cold, you take a sharp wedge rock, you don't have a little shovel, and you dig a space in the ground about 2 foot wide and about 5 foot long. And you dig the ground down about 7 fingers deep. Now you have a little circle of stones. You have your campfire. You take a fork stick, and you take the red hot coals out of the main cooking campfire, and you put the red hot coals in that pit that you dug 7 fingers deep, and you keep adding wood to it. And then when you're ready to go to sleep, you should have a good fire going right there in that square. And you take a stick and you spread it all out. And now you take the earth that you dug out and you sprinkle it back on top of the coals. And until you've got about 6 or 7 fingers of earth on top of those red hot coals, then you take your hands and you pat it down. Ow! Make sure there ain't no red hot coal on top, see? Because so now you're cold and you're going to lay down on there, and the heat from those red hot coals and from that fire comes up through the earth, and you're going to sleep nice and warm all night. I even put my tent on top of that, and my tent stays nice and warm all night long. Yes, yep, it does. So,
I have never heard of that before.
I know it's an old Cherokee trick. The Englishman said, "Oh, blimey, we're on the cold, cold ground." Well, remember this: half moon is cause, full moon is effect. So here's a commercial airliner called Plane 007. Ronald Reagan was our president, and this commercial airliner happened to go a little bit over into Russian airspace. So here comes this Russian MiG fighter plane, and he sees this commercial airliner full of innocent people, and boom, he shoots off a rocket and he blows them up. And so Ronald Reagan said, "I don't know the date, but there was a half moon that night that the Soviet MiG shot down plane 007. Well, not the next full moon, but the following full moon. Cause is on the half moon, effect is on the full moon." And it was in Jane's War Book, also within the newspaper. A Soviet missile went off by accident, set off electromagnetic pulse, and blew up half the weapons of the Soviet fleet, killed 500 Soviet sailors at Severnorsk Navy base on the Kola Peninsula. See, it comes back on them. Just like Khrushchev, pointing his finger, said, "We will bury you." Comes back on them. It's like a big... I'm sorry, go ahead, Roy.
I was going to say there was a question in the chat room. I didn't want it to scroll up where I couldn't see it anymore. What keeps your tent from catching on fire? With that Cherokee trick with the hot coals under the 7 fingers, they want to know what keeps your tent from catching on fire.
What keeps you from catching on fire?
Your tent.
Oh, your tent won't catch on fire because you've got 7 fingers of earth. That's about 4 to 5 inches of earth on top of those red hot coals. In other words, it's like you put out the fire. And so the earth carries the heat, kind of like a heating pad, and keeps your tent warm, keeps your sleeping bag warm, or just your body if you haven't got anything.
Okay, go ahead where you at. I just wanted you to catch that question.
Okay. The reason I'm saying that the 14 is powerful because it's like a big chess game. I don't play chess, but I ask questions. Now, an official Olympic chessboard is 14 inches by 14 inches. The power square on one side is number 14. The other one on the other side is number 19. World War I began 1914. And so, and World War II ended August 14, 1945. And so the 14 is a power number. And so you have a red square and black square. Now, when you graduate from college and you're a smarty pants, they put a black square cap on top of your head. Okay? Now, Moscow is called red square. And so it comes back on them. Like, for example, the Soviet Union, on the half moon, they blew a nuclear bomb. 14 days later, the Soviet fuel depot exploded. And then the United States blew a nuclear bomb in Nevada, and there was an earthquake at Bishop, California, followed by an earthquake at Ridgecrest, California, followed by an earthquake at Palm Springs, California. They're all in a row inside the diagonal of the California border, and the Bishop moves on the diagonal, and the Palm Springs earthquake had 14 aftershocks, and then it's like we blew a nuclear bomb in Nevada, and 14 days later, the World Series baseball game at Candlestick Park the stadium started to collapse because of earthquake. Man go boom, earth go boom. And so it's like that. I just watch and I say, yep, it's all happening. Yep. So the main survival tip is attitude. To be a survivor, you're different. It's like there was an airplane crash in the jungle, and of the 50 people aboard the aircraft, there were 20 survivors and a 17-year-old girl. And the people say, we need to stay with the plane in case the rescuers are looking for us. And the 17-year-old girl says, I'm not staying here. I'm going to go look for help. Oh, no, don't go out there. There's snakes and alligators, and there's quicksand, and there's all kinds of terrible things. So she said, I'm going to go find help. And because the plane was underneath the triple canopy trees in the jungle, nobody could even see it from the air. And so she took off, and they said, you're crazy, you'll die, you'll be killed. Anyway, the girl took off, and about a week later, she came to a village. Now, they didn't have a telephone, and with sign language, she showed them that there was an airplane out there in the jungle. So the fella took a canoe, and he canoed for a day or so to another village, and they had a runner who ran to a village that had contact with the city, and then the city got the message that there was an airplane out there in the jungle, and about 3-4 weeks later, the rescuers were able to find the airplane, and all the survivors were dead, but the girls survived. You see, it's attitude, and you're different. Survivor attitude is different. So what you want to watch for is like that. Well, I'll tell you, as a river guide, I would take people down the river, and there was a big 7-foot standing wave. This was on the American rivers called Maya, and the grown-ups would scream, we're going to drown, we're going to be killed, and they'd cry. And I'd yell, hard forward paddle. And I put my strongest paddlers in the front. You work together out of the side of your corner of your eye. You watch the fellow opposite so that your paddle hits the water at the same time the person opposite you. And then you go straight, not like a duck paddling back and forth. And so you knock down the wave. The wave is called fear, F-E-A-R, false evidence appearing real, or free every anxious reaction. Go for it, knock down that wave, and on the other side, the water's like glass. So you face the fear, and you did it. And the kids that live along the river, they would, just nothing but an inner tube, they would jump in, and they would laugh, and they'd go through that same 7-foot standing wave, and them kids would just laugh, and they would nothing but an inner tube. Then they jump ashore, run back upstream, and jump in the water again, all summer long, and that was their summer fun for the local kids. But the grown-ups would cry, and the kids would laugh. So the secret of life is don't grow up. Take it like a kid. There's nothing to fear. And so the Hopis say there is a river, and it is flowing swiftly. And there are those who have fear and are hanging on to the shore. But let go of the fear and go to the center of the river. Keep your head above water, and there you will meet people of like mind. Take nothing personal at this time, for if you do, you will be cast back up against the shore. The river has a destination, and when it arrives, we will find that we are the ones that we have been waiting for. And so that's we have to watch. There is a law called they call it antipode. It means what goes around comes around. It means that what happens on one side of the earth affects the opposite side. For example, on the 14-degree parallel in 1985, the Santa Ana, California Register said that the Condonesas were having a war. And on the opposite side of the world was Ethiopia, and Ethiopia was having a drought. So the countries in Sandanisa said peace. no war. And on the day they said peace, it poured rain in Ethiopia and Africa, and it washed away Mother Teresa's kitchens. She was feeding the starving. And then the countries and Sandinistas went back to war, and Ethiopia went back to drought. So now let's take a look. California is having a drought, and the opposite side of the world is they had a war in Gaza, and so on the day they stopped, California got rain. They got so much rain they got flooded out, and so they went back to fighting in Syria, and we got to watch because Syria is opposite Yellowstone, and our government, what you say, has power, and our illustrious government during the Bush administration kept saying, terror alert, yellow elevated, yellow elevated. So Yellowstone started elevating. It's gone up over a foot. The asphalt has been melting. Tourists have been having trouble with their rubber soles of their shoes melting. The buffalo, the elk, the deer, have all left the area. They said they're migrating. Yeah, well, how come the buffalo were running down the middle of the road? It was in a movie. So keep an eye on Yellowstone elevator. Yellowstone goes. It's opposite also not only Syria, but it's opposite Krakatoa, which is Indonesia. But when Krakatoa volcano exploded in the mid-1800s, the boom was so
Willie?
loud it was heard around the world.
Willie, that music you hear is break time coming up, and it's going to be with us for just a few minutes, so why don't we just hang loose and let the break time music go, and we'll come back in just a minute.
Okay, Roy.
Talking about some of the things that's happening around the world and things that we can look for as Nibiru gets closer and techniques for survival and various other things. So I had to interrupt him to go to break time, so why don't we go right back to where he was at. Willie, do you remember where you left off at?
No, but I'll probably come back around there because I kind of talk in circles sometimes, Royce. But I would say, once again, don't believe it. I just enjoy telling the stories because I'm old. And so we got to make a world for the children, and that's the main thing. It's what goes around comes around. It's like, example, I was telling you earlier about the story about a man ran out down the stairs of his house, and he saved the grandfather clock during the earthquake in Santa Cruz, California, about 4 years ago. So here's a man with nothing but time on his hands. And Grandfather David Mononge, the keeper of the Hopi prophecies, he said to me, if we don't do it, a higher power will do it for us. And we have to make a world for the children. And if we don't, the Great Spirit told the Hopi people that the children in the future will beat us up alongside the head for not making a world for them. And so now it's happening in New York City. The black fellas, they go along and they call it polar bear hunting. And if you got white hair, wham, they hit you alongside the head and knock you down. In Chicago, it's called knockdown. In Detroit, I believe it was, they knocked down a little old lady with white hair, and she pulled a pistol out of her purse and bang, she shot him. And so that's what's happening. So we have to make a world for the children, and now the college kids are all protesting because teachers aren't teaching survival because we're under Soviet law, and that's what's taken over our country. The British want our country. The Russians want our country. The Chinese want our country. They bought up all of Walmart. They like that Great Wall, China, the Berlin Wall, and now we got Walmart. And so everything's a wall. Don't fence me in. Let me
Walmart,
wander over
Walgreens.
yonder. Yeah. So we're being walled in, and so they're not keeping the history anymore, because without the history, you lose your roots. And if a tree don't have roots, you don't know where you're going. If you don't know where you've been, how do you know where you're going? There are two most important days in your life, and that is the day you were born and the day you find out why you were born. And so you do a vision quest. You go out in the desert or the mountains. Springtime is best. You take a long stick to keep away snakes and mountain lions, and a blanket and a gallon of water. You sash the gallon of water 100 feet away. You draw a circle in the ground. If you have a shade tree or a big cactus for shade, that's great. And you face east and you say, Great Spirit, why am I here? Give me my vision. And so I've done it 4 times, and I've had 7 visions gifted to me on what all's coming. And that's why I talk like I do, because it's coming like this is a stick-up. And it's going to be like a big surprise. And I don't want folks to be surprised. I want them to be prepared. And so make yourself a bug-out bag and put things in it that you're going to need. And so it's like...
It's kind of like being prepared, preparing to go back to the days before technology, where you can survive without technology.
That's right, yeah. And so when you sleep on the ground or make a fire with 2 sticks, and it's nature's way of letting folks appreciate a motel room. You can give a man a fish, and he'll eat 1 meal. But if you teach a man to fish, he'll sit out in the middle of a lake all day in a rowboat with a case of beer.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what I used to do.
Yeah. And so here's this man standing out there on his front lawn holding a grandfather clock, and his wife is laughing at him. He's standing out there naked. And so the grandfather said, our Mother Earth is changing. We're going from 4th world to 5th world. Remember your 4 knuckles sticking up? Those are the 4 mountains. And you spread your fingers. We're going to 5th world. So to become a human being, you don't point your finger. You bend your finger. You say, see how you are. What can I do to help you? And so we're going from 4th to 5th world. And the kids slap your hands together, and they go, high five, dude. So a lot of grown-ups are still in 3rd grade with these 3 fingers, the thumb up, the pointing finger, and the middle finger. And the kids are in 5th grade. So everybody's got to catch up. It's like, so the man is standing out there on his front lawn holding a grandfather clock, and Grandfather David Mononge of the Hopi, the keeper of the Hopi prophecies, he said to me in 1982, if we don't do it, a higher power will do it for us. And so now we see the poles, the ice is melting. Another word for pole ice is police. And so a police car is black and white. So over here in Iceland, a little black volcano is dumping black lava onto white ice, pole ice. And so if you know your Indian knowledge, the 1st world, because of no love, was purified by fire. The 2nd world, it was no love, coldness of thought, was purified by ice. And so to remember past life memory, before the cops shoot their guns, they say, freeze or I'll fire. And so that's to remember. I invite all the listeners, go get a big chocolate chip cookie, okay? Or use whatever you got handy, dry bread or a cracker. Now hold it in both hands. Put your knuckles on the table. Now slowly break the big cookie in half. Imagine, use your imagination. Slowly break the cookie in half. You see the earthquake fault? Now this was out in the ocean, the old land of Mu. The part of the cookie in your left hand is the old land of Mu. That's the Pacific plate. Now, in your right hand is the North American plate. So slowly break the cookie in half. You see the fault line going through the crack? Now, the old land of Mu, the baby says 2 times, Mumu, a mumu, eso un cha-cha. And a cha-cha is a shaky dance. That's my Cherokee turtle shell rattle. And so mumu, eso un cha-cha. Muchacha is girl in Spanish. So our mother did a cha-cha long ago in the old land of Mu, went beneath the waves, the old land of milk and honey. And so as you break it off, you'll notice the crumbs fall on the table. And so those are the high cliffs of California, Oregon, and Washington. The crumbs on the table are the big rocks and boulders along the California, Oregon, Washington coast. And so that's why there's high cliffs. The part in your right hand is the high cliffs of California, Oregon, and Washington. So what's the first letter of California? C, huh? The first letter of Oregon is O, and the first letter of Washington is W. Make a word. Cow. What does the cow say? Moo. That's how the cookie crumbles. and you got chocolate chip. And that's our Mother Earth. What's the number one company that makes chocolate chips?
Keebler.
Her and she, Hershey. See, the female. And so we all have one thing in common. All over the world, everybody right now, we're breathing, and we take it for granted. Don't take Mother Earth for granted. Don't take a woman for granted. Christ's sake, she'll spit in your coffee when you ain't looking. And so the ocean comes in, the ocean goes out. We breathe in, we breathe out. And so there's 46 minerals in seawater. There's 46 minerals in human blood. You taste your blood, you taste the ocean, it tastes the same. And so the seaweed on the ocean floor is called seaweed. And that is the hair of Mu. And mujer is woman in Spanish. And so if you cut yourself in the ocean, it doesn't hurt. But as soon as it hits the air, wow, it hurts. And so you go to the hospital, and the first thing the nurse does is put saltwater saline solution into you. You need your salt. The Soviet Union controlled their people by keeping salt away from them. If you don't have no salt, your brain goes kind of goofy. And so that's why the Army takes salt capsules in the Arizona desert. Take that salt. And so... hey, I'm almost 80 years old, and I take salt. Yep, you got to do that, or your brain goes goofy. So to keep the salt away from the Russian people, they had a saying in Russia, and it was, may you always have good bread and salt. So you got to have that. I got Salt Lake out here for the deer. I've seen the poor things licking the dirt to get the salt off of it. They lick my shovel handle to get the salt. So take care of yourself. Also, during the 14th century bubonic plague, the poor folks were dying by the thousands in Europe. The rich people didn't die. Why? Because they were born with a silver spoon in their mouth. They ate off of silver plates, silver goblets, silver utensils, and they did not get bubonic plague. But the poor folks died by the thousands in 14th century Europe. So... put silver. I put silver coin, silver dollar in all my water glasses, all my water. It kills bacteria instantly. And they found that out. So what they do, they gave us a Lone Ranger in Tonto. Hi-yo, silver. And he was a masked cowboy. Now, if you're a masked cowboy and you walk into the bank in Texas, you're going to get shot. Okay? And so he was Kemosabe. Kemosabe is he knows much more, or he knows it all. And his Indian companion was Tonto, and Tonto in Spanish means stupid. My mother used to hit me over the head, saying, "No sea tonto, don't be stupid." So I try not to be anyway. I did a lot of stupid things. Well, we all did. That's human.
I got a question.
I noticed. Huh?
Got a question.
Yeah.
You put silver in your drinks, like a dime or something?
Yeah, silver dime, earrings, rings, anything silver.
What keeps you from accidentally swallowing it when you take a sip of water?
It doesn't make any taste at all. It just kills the bacteria instantly.
Right, but if it's in your glass of water, you tip your glass up into your mouth to drink it. Couldn't it go inside your mouth and you could choke on it?
No, that's why I use a silver dollar so you don't swallow it if it's a silver dime. I go to the thrift store and I buy silverware and I buy antique silver plates and silver bowls, and you drink off of that, eat off of that. You got to protect your health because they're putting fear into people. They got all these new diseases, and they got Ebola, and they got a patent on it. Now, why would they patent a disease unless they created it? And it's like the old story from India. The old man was leaning up against a shade tree on the road to Bombay, and pretty soon the spirit of the plague comes walking by. And the old man says, "Where are you going?" And the spirit says, "I'm going to Bombay to kill 100 people." And a few days later, the old man reads in the newspaper that 10,000 people had died of the plague in Bombay. And a few days later, the spirit of the plague comes back walking the other way. "You lied to me," the old man cries out. "No, I didn't lie to you, but you said you were going to kill 100 people. I did kill 100 people. It was fear that killed the rest." And so that's how they control us, with fear. They want to take the guns away, but yet all them Hollywood movie actors is all going bang, 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 and they all got Uzis. And the Uzi, in military, when you get your orders to come back to the United States, you come back to the United Zone Interior, the ZI. And that's Uzi is the number one machine gun pistol in the movies. Bang, 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 bang. Full automatic. And it's made by the six-pointed star people. And so the six-pointed star people made that thing. And that's what's in all the movies. So take the guns away from the Hollywood movie actors in the movies, because if they take your gun away, you're going to feel real silly sitting there with no gun. And on Hollywood movies, it's all bang, 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 bang. And that's how they're destroying our children's brains with all those video games and killing.
That's true. My kids, when they were growing up, a video game was boring if it didn't have enough blood and the blood didn't look real enough.
Yeah. You know, I was driving through New Mexico a few years ago, and the radio, I had my radio on my truck on, and the radio host was saying, "I don't understand it. What's going on with all these school shootings? I just don't understand it." And a fella called in, and he was an Army colonel, and he said, "My name is Colonel Anderson," or whatever his name was. And he says, "I teach U.S. Marines, police, and SWAT teams. I teach them how to kill. And one of the main things that we use is the video game. And you see the side of an apartment building, and a window opens up, and there's a man standing there with a gun pointing at you, and bang, you shoot. The next window opens up, and you got to do it fast. And there's a mother holding a baby. You don't shoot. The next window, there's a man with a black mask holding a shotgun. Bang, you shoot. The next window is a little old lady holding a sack of groceries. You don't shoot. You don't shoot friends. If you get a headshot, you get extra points. So he says, a case in point, there was a 12-year-old boy. He never fired a gun before in his life. His parents were Christian, and no guns were allowed in the house. No guns were bad. Well, cars kill more people than guns. Take the cars. Anyway, they didn't want no guns. So the daughter was teaching a Christian Bible class over at the high school, and the parents were gone for the day. And just like a 12-year-old kid, he goes next door, he breaks into the house next door, and he steals a Glock automatic pistol. He goes over to the school, and just like a video game, he plants his feet on the floor, holds the pistol with both hands, and he opens fire on his sister's Bible class. Bang, 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 bang. And out of 8 shots, he kills 8 people. And they were all headshots, except for one was an upper body shot. His sister came running up, and she said, stop it, what are you doing? He did not shoot her. You don't shoot friends. And so the radio host was saying, I can't believe it. And the colonel said, he never fired a pistol before in his life. What taught him? You see, in video game, you plant both feet on the floor, you hold the pistol with both hands, and if you get a headshot, you get extra points. See? And that's how they're training our children. There's no natural love. It just kill. And they play that game and they laugh. Boy, I just blew his head off. That ain't no way. That's not a human being. Eh? So this is why Hercules, Planet X, Nibiru is going to show up. And so we got to be a human being. So I'd like to tell you this story, Royce. It's an old story. It's known in South America, and it's known among the tribes. Long ago, there was a man sitting on a log in the woods. And this was a time when there was no words. Everything was thought between trees, plants, and the animals. Everything was thought. And so the man was very sad. And so the animals came around the sad man, and they said, why are you so sad? And the man said, I wish I had good ears. I wish I could hear things far away. And so the deer said, very well, I'll give you my ears. And so the deer gave his ears to the man. And the man was still sad. And the animals, they said, why are you still sad? He said, I wish I had good eyes. I wish I could see things far, far away. And so the eagle said, very well, I will give you my eyes. And he took the eyes from the eagle. And he was still sad. And the animal said, why are you still sad? And the man said, I wish I was strong. I wish I was really, really strong. And so the bear said, very well, I will give you my strength. And so he took the strength from the bear. And he was still sad. And so, the great horned owl said, I'm going to fly around this man. I'm going to find out why he is still sad. And so the owl flew around the sad man. And the owl came back to the animals and said, I have found out why this man is so sad. He has a hole. And it's a hole that cannot be filled. So the animals turned away from the sad man, and they left him sitting on the log. So let's take that old story and bring it forward. He took the ears of the deer. Look at what we're holding in our hand. The telephone. It looks like a deer's ear with a black tip, and that's your telephone. And so we can hear, even though I'm up here in Oregon, I can hear you way over there in Texas. So I can hear far, far away. He took the eyes of the eagle, and so he built satellites and things in space so he could look down at the earth from a long distance. And when they put the shuttle to the moon, the first thing Neil Armstrong said was, the eagle has landed. And now they can look down on the earth from far, far away. He took the strength of the bear. The Pilgrims called a bar in a bar. There's a bad bar in the woods. Daniel Boone killed a bar. And so the Native American bear, he goes up to a tree, if he's the tallest bear, and he goes, roar, and he scratches the tree with his claws. And so you look, everything we buy today for the money has got that bar code on it. The bear, he's greedy. He has a hole. He wants more. And so he takes away the homes. And so the first bank to take away homes was Bear Stearns Bank. And the grizzly bear is a cannibal. He'll eat the baby. But the mother grizzly will attack the male grizzly for trying to eat her kid. And so the stock market was called the bear market. And the Congress and the Senate a few years ago gave millions of dollars to the bear market, the stock market. And we have over 3 million children go to bed with no food every night in this country. And so the Bear Clan is chief. And one day the bear, he's going to start scratching people with this aid of the rattlesnake. The first American flag was a rattlesnake, and it said, "Don't tread on me." It was a red flag, the rattlesnake with the words, "Don't tread on me," and that was the first American flag. So they're going to find out the snake strikes. So we want you to be aware of it. The rattlesnake venom is pure protein. That's what goes to your heart like Ebola, and that'll kill you. It takes out all the vitamin C. And so long ago, all the animals got together in a circle, and they said, "Man is starting to eat and kill us. What shall we do?" And the animals said, "Well, then we will poison man." And so the rattlesnake said, "I will be the one who will put fear for you into man, because only the bear, the mountain lion, the wolf, and the wolverine can put fear into man. But the turtles and the rabbits and the squirrels cannot." And so the rattlesnake, with his hypodermic needle teeth, went around and took a little bit from each animal. The rattlesnake venom is pure protein, and that's what goes to your heart and kills you. It's like scurvy. And so what happened next was, and so what happened next was the trees and plants got in a big circle, and they said, "Well, if the animals are going to poison man, then we help man." And so the lemon tree said, "Very well, I will give of my fruit. And when man eats my fruit and he sucks on a lemon, he will make a face, and that's how he looks to the animals, and they will run from him." And so the lemon is pure vitamin C. That's what gets rid of scurvy and probably Ebola and all the other stuff, because all the animals, because all the animals create vitamin C naturally in their system, but man does not. Man has to eat an orange or a lemon. And so the pine tree in the high country said, "Very well, I will give of my needles, and I will counteract the venom of the mountain rattlesnake, and I will remain green all year so that man can find me." And so that is known. That's an old story, and it's known. And so in the 1700s, get this frog out here.
Okay. I know the feeling.
And so in the 1700s, Captain Jack Cardineau was going up the San Lawrence River, and half the crew was dead from scurvy. And Captain Jack himself had scurvy. And so a passing Cherokee, I believe it was, we ranged all over the country in those times. There were no borders, no fences, no nothing like that. It was just a great turtle island. And so the passing Cherokee took pity upon Captain Jack, and he boiled up a pot of water and threw a handful of pine needles in there from the sugar pine tree and gave it to the crew to drink, and Captain Jack was cured of the scurvy. And he waited, the ice melted, ship was free from the ice, and he turned around, went back to France, and he said to the French medical establishment, "A passing Indian has cured us of the scurvy with the pine needle tea." Ho, 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 says the French medical establishment. It took them 50 years later. The French medical establishment found out that vitamin C, ascorbic acid, is high concentrated in pine needles. And so the French started to carry oranges on their sailing ships. The English found out about it, and they started to carry limes. And during World War II, our sailors called the English limeys. And it all started with a passing Cherokee who took pity on the French. And so that's what gets rid of the scurvy, because all the animals create vitamin C naturally.
That was news to me. I never heard that before.
I know it's an old Cherokee story, my friend. Yeah. Well, the reason folks don't know their roots is because the Cherokees, first they took the guns away. Look what's happening in this country today. First they took the guns away from the Cherokees. Then the soldiers came at dawn at bayonet point and herded the Cherokees out of their homes in Georgia, Tennessee. And they put them into concentration camps. And they waited till winter because President Andrew Jackson said, get them Indians out of here. So the same thing happened to the Choctaw, the Chickasaw, the Cree, the Seminole. And they said, get them Indians out of here. We want to look for gold. Because a little Cherokee boy up on the Willits River up in Georgia, he found a gold nugget the size of your fist. And that started the gold fever. And so the man who built Sutter's Mill on the American River in California came over to Georgia after the 49er gold rush in California, and he built the same type of mill on the river in Georgia. And so get them Indians out of here. So everybody had gold fever. Get that gold. And so, yeah, it gets you, don't it? And
so it was all
anyway,
about stealing Indian gold.
Huh?
So it was all about stealing Indian gold.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, the Cherokees, my great-grandparents, were herded into a concentration camp, and then they waited till the winter of 1838, and they moved them out. Many were barefoot. It was the coldest winter of 1838, and they moved them 1,000 miles from Georgia, Tennessee, on the Trail of Tears to Oklahoma. Oklahoma is a Choctaw word for okay, my home. And of the 17,000 Cherokees that were taken, 4,000 died. And the same happened with the Choctaw people and the Chickasaw and the Cree, and the Seminole escaped into Florida. And they couldn't pry them out of there, so the Seminole have Florida today. And so they got to Oklahoma, and the two tribes arrived at bayonet point, and they waited for the chief and the third tribe to arrive, and they got tired of waiting. They said, well, then 2 is enough. And 2 in Cherokee is Tale, and Qua is enough. So Tale Qua. So they named the place Tahlequah, and that today is the capital of the Cherokee Nation. Tahlequah, Oklahoma, means 2 is enough. And so that's my roots. Now, whenever a town council in Cherokee needed a road or building built in Oklahoma or Arkansas, they'd have the sheriff go out and arrest Cherokees or Choctaw or Chickasaw or any Indian to do the work. And the sheriff would go out and arrest them for anything, just spitting on the sidewalk. And so they'd do the work like slave labor. And when the road was complete, the building was built, he'd turn them loose. So the word was out among the people, if you don't look Indian, don't say nothing. And so that's why millions of Americans with Indian blood don't know their roots or their history. And so it's like there was one called Kalanu. Kalanu is the raven in Cherokee, Kalanu. And so he was married to the daughter of Chief Jolly. There's a Jolly Island up on the Tennessee River. And Kalanu, the Raven Warrior, with his warriors and men, were coming to the Alamo to help Colonel Travis fight off General Santa Anna and his 5,000 Mexican army. Well, he got there too late. The Mexicans had already wiped out the Alamo and burned all the bodies. And so Kalanu, the Raven Warrior, took off going east across Texas. And he didn't say nothing to his men. And he was a general, and there were colonels, and he had captains and lieutenants, and his men were complaining. Because when I got to a little town in Texas, the people would say, General, why don't you turn around and fight them Mexicans? And he don't say nothing. He's just like a raven, dragging his wing on the ground, pretending he's wounded. And he stayed ahead of the entire Mexican army. And he got all the way across Texas to a place called the San Jacinto River. Now, this is where the river, it forks. And there's a point of land. So he had a plan. He sent half of his men, half of his army, over on the left bank across the river, and the other side, the right bank, he picked 7 good swimmers on horseback, dragging tree branches behind their horses so it looked like a cloud of dust, and behind the horses, and the rest of his men he hid in the bushes behind that point that goes at the San Jacinto River. And the entire Mexican army followed those 7 men on horseback, thinking they were following the entire army of Kalanu, the Raven Warrior. And so the 7 men jumped into the river and swam to the other side to their buddies on either side of the river. And then from behind, Kalanu, the Raven Warrior, started shooting from behind, and as the Mexicans were jumping into the river, the Americans were shooting in the water, and General Santa Anna saw that he had no escape, and so he surrendered. And Kalanu, the Raven Warrior, was Sam Houston, the first president of Texas. And so I got 2 things to say to Texas.
Uh-oh.
Don't mess with Texas, and Cherokees ain't Jeeps. So there.
And steers and queers ain't the only thing in Texas, no. Although the steers might be, no. Now,
yeah.
I was going to mention that we're getting down to about roughly 20 minutes left in the show. And I was going to ask you if you had any tips for people like that wanted to survive out in the desert, or they were stuck out in the desert and they needed to survive. Could you give them any advice that would help them survive in the desert? Because you mentioned that desert earlier, and I've been thinking about it ever since you mentioned it.
Yeah. Royce, boy, I'd like to be out there and talk to them and help them out, make a good camp. I got a buddy, his name is Bigfoot, Peter Bigfoot. He went across the Arizona desert, 19 days, no food, no water. It was 130 to 150 degrees. It was the summer of 1976, and he walked 98 miles from Cave Creek, Arizona, to Four Peaks Mountain in the Arizona desert. Now, Four Peaks Mountain is on the Arizona license plate. When you see an Arizona license plate, you'll see Four Peaks Mountain. And he survived with no food and no water. He had an attorney drop him off. He says, if you don't hear from me within 2 months, go ahead and execute my will. The attorney said, take a camera. I've been trying to talk my friend Peter Bigfoot into putting that on film and putting it out so people could learn and understand. Our Mother Earth will take care of you. You just go with the flow of it, and everything you need is right there for you. If you look on that computer, you can go to RevisMountainSchool.org. Revis is spelled R-E-E-V-I-S, and you'll see Peter Bigfoot, and he's one of the best desert survival instructors in Arizona. And so I worked with him, and I lived up there for about 5 or 6 years. I lived in the desert for 20 years. And so there's everything you need. There's more food to eat in the desert. And so now I'm up here in the mountains, and I can make chicken soup out of a pine tree. And there's everything you need. I had cancer 4 times. I cured myself with, it cost me $2. Cancer schmancer. Golly sakes, I got 30 years of lessons that I could show people. The main thing is form a tribe, get along together. The Iroquois nation of the Iroquois they have the tree of peace. And you see my movie Hope, and you'll see that tree standing. And then the tree is cast aside, and all the weapons of war go down in the bowl of the hole. And once again, the tree of peace will stand tall again. And you can see that at the end of my movie Hope. I've also got a movie called The Third Mass. The reason why is Hollywood gave us two masks, smile and frown. They left out the third mask with the mouth straight across to think. And so to find water in the desert, you can look at my survival book for kids, Willy Whitefeather's Outdoor Survival Handbook for Kids. It's on Amazon, and I also wrote a river book for kids. And so my outdoor survival book was in the newspaper, saved a couple of kids' lives. So that's what I like to do. I'm very sad. I'm crying inside because I taught survival to 30 kids 2 weeks ago. And on the same day I heard that them brave soldiers in Syria shot 130 kids. Jeez, they're killing them faster than I can save them.
Right.
And so
I just pasted your website link into the chat room, www.willywhitefeather.com. It's in the chat room if anybody wants to click it.
Yeah, Willy with a Y. Yeah, and you can hear, and you can also go way down to the bottom, and you can see this. It was on the YouTube, and put it on that computer thing, and you can see Planet X. It looks like two suns. It's been coming in behind the sun, and every once in a while, if you go down to the ocean and you watch the sunset, you will see the second sun right behind it. But now it's coming in closer, and so the earthquakes and volcanoes are going off because it's pulling the magnetic core of our earth toward the surface. And also we have iron in our blood, and the women have more iron than men. That's why women have to take iron, men have to take zinc. When they put a zinc plate on the iron hull of a sailing ship, it creates electrolysis and throws off the barnacles. So all them barnacles are going to go down in them underground tunnels, and I would not go underground at this time. I would stay on top and create a tribe. And so this country was formed in the way of the Iroquois nation. That's what's going to survive. Everybody has something to throw into the pot, like a poker game. Ante up. What do you know? Help out. Help somebody every day. If you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off, and there's somebody in a wheelchair crying, and everybody running all around, grab the handlebars of their wheelchair, and the Great Spirit will make sure that you're in the right place at the right time. If there's a blind person, help them. And that's the secret of life. Help somebody. That's the whole thing. And so when you have a tribe, your tribe is your strength. If one person in the tribe is hungry, it means the whole tribe is hungry. In the way of the Iroquois, 7 blessed women, same in the Cherokee. And so the 7 blessed women became the judicial. And so they took the ways of the Iroquois when they started this nation. And all of that was painted on the columns of the White House. But I understand they painted it out.
So basically, the Cherokee and the Iroquois treated women as equals.
Yeah. We had the war women, Nancy Ward, Wilma Mankiller. Wilma Mankiller said they both passed on. But Wilma Mankiller said we need to make a world for the next 7 generations of children. And why 7? Because we got 7 openings in our head, and the 7th wave in the ocean is the largest wave. So then you have the 7 blessed women, the judicial, and then you have a lodge for men and a lodge for women, and that became the House of Congress, the House of Senate. You have the chief, and the chief is the chief executive, and that's the Oval Office, the circle. And so you have a war chief, and you have a peace chief, and so the whole thing runs like a well-oiled machine. And so you take care of each other, and that's what's going to survive. The days of the lone wolf are over. It's now time to get together as human beings. And so the Hopi say the Four Corners area, Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, Utah, the Navajo land, and all that will be a place of safety if they use those nuclear weapons. On the Hopi Prophecy Rock, the three mesas of Hopi stick up like three ribs on the Earth Mother. Spell the word rib out loud in English. Spell rib.
Are you asking me to?
Yeah, go ahead. Spell the word rib out loud.
R-I-B.
That's the name of the village. You hear the sound? R-I-B is the name of the village on Second Mesa. R-I-B. Okay? That's how we teach. You listen to the sound. And so that's why Mother Earth is screaming right now. People are hearing sounds in the sky. And she's going, whoa, and they don't know why. And the scientists are puzzled and baffled. And scientists are amazed. Well, that's because they're separated from the Earth. And so we get along together. That was the lesson in the movie Avatar. They had the Omaticaya tribe. And the planet Pandora in the movie Avatar, the mining company had U.S. Marines guarding it. No. U.S. Marines, their song is from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. We will fight our country's battles, not a greedy mining company's battles. And so on the planet Pandora, they wanted that rock that floated in the air. It was called unobtainable. And Wes Studi was the Cherokee elder who was the chief inside the great home tree. So when they got the tree down, everybody felt it. And that was their home tree. And inside the tree, you saw the roots wrapped around, twirled around like a rope. That's your DNA, divine Native American blood, DNA. And you have that in you. You were born on this land. You're Native American. And so the islands on Pandora, but they floated in the air. So the lesson was lighten up. And you'll be all right. Help somebody every day. It'll come back to you. Don't worry about anything.
Okay, Willie, we're getting kind of short on time here, and I wanted you to have time to mention anything that was important to you, you wanted the listeners to know about. So now would be a good time before we do run out. Have you got anything going on or coming up or anything in particular you want to share?
Yeah, I would say listen to the voice of the turtle. That's the turtle. And the half moon and full moon, pay attention to that as the Victorian era goes out. DOVE. And so that's divine order verified eternally. So that's the sound of peace coming, and they call it a turtle dove, and it ties in with the sound of the voice of the turtle. And so the dove is, oh, quack, 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 quack. And we can hear that. That's called a turtle dove. And so that's what's coming. That's what I see. That was my vision. So I always say don't believe it, but it's going to come back on them that ain't got no love for people.
Now,
and so, yeah, that's the whole thing. Watch the circle. Watch the coincidences. If God were to walk through the front doors of, say, Walmart right now, would everybody go, oh, look, it's God. Oh, we just love your beautiful rainbows and your waterfalls. We love the beautiful. No, people complain. They say, how come you made a tornado and took out my house? How come you made avocados? The seeds are too big. So God remains invisible and gives us coincidences so that we know he is with us. When you start to see the coincidences, and so you get a chill between your shoulder blades like a bunny rabbit, or you get chills on your arm, you know you got spirit with you. And so you just hang on to that. Follow your gut, your feeling, like on the river. Hard forward paddle, go for it. If you get a gut feeling, use caution. And that's what's important these days.
Okay.
So,
Now, my wife was asking, because she's listening in, if you were a tribal elder.
uh-huh.
Oh, you are?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's different little bands, like oh gosh, they made me a tribal. They made me the elder storyteller. The state of Oregon gave me a medal. I'm a storyteller to the boys in the prison, and the state of Oregon gave me a medal and a banquet. And the boys signed a great big 4 foot by 4 foot thank you card for me. And do I have a minute to tell another story?
Yeah. You got about 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay. Going to water is a sacred thing to Cherokee. It carries your negative thoughts away when you sit by the river, going to water. And so the chief says, I think I'm going to go to water today. And he packed a lunch sack, and he went down to the river to watch the fish jump and the geese and the ducks fly. And he set the lunch sack on the ground, and when he did, he saw this most beautiful, precious stone laying on the ground. And he picked it up and he looked at it. He said, what a beautiful stone. I've never seen anything like it. It sparkled and glowed in his hand. And he said, it must be very valuable. If I were to sell it, I could probably get some money for it. So he put it in his lunch sack and he sat there eating his cornbread. And pretty soon another Indian from another tribe came by and he said, oh, Chief, I have not eaten all day. You have something I could eat? And he said, well, certainly. And he reached in the lunch sack and he pulled out some cornbread, and when he opened the sack, the Indian saw that beautiful, precious stone. He said, oh, what a beautiful stone. He said, yes, it is. He said, Chief, you think I could have that stone? And the chief said, why, certainly. And he gave the precious stone to the Indian. And they sat there eating for a while, and then the Indian thanked him and went his way. The next day, the chief says, I think I'll go to water again today. And he packed another lunch sack, and he went down. He sat on the same boulder. And pretty soon, the same Indian came by and he said, oh, Chief, I want to return to you this precious stone because I want something that is far more valuable than this stone. And the chief said, well, what could that be? And he said, that thing that's inside of you that made you give me this stone. And everybody listening, and you, Royce, everybody has that precious stone inside of them. And that's why when you go to powwow, they have a giveaway blanket. What can I give you? What can I help you with? And that's from the corn giver. And that's the maize. And that's our thumbprint. And your thumbprint is the maize, the path of life. And each one of us are different. And we all have that maize, the corn. And look at your thumbprint. That's your path of life. The cops found out about it years later, found out we're all different. And they use the fingerprint, the thumbprint, to track people now. And that's our gift. That's our gift from the Creator. Those are your 4 knuckles, the 4 mountains, your thumb. See, I got to hand it to you.
All right. Well, that was certainly very interesting. I think we learned quite a bit today. I want to thank you for coming on the show with me. Now, I believe I've talked to your brother Dan, and he's going to come back on the show again in the future as well. I was going to look that up real quick before we went off the air here so I could let everybody know when to expect it. I think, yeah, I did. That's going to be Thursday, February the 5th, and me and Dan Willis will be discussing Nazis of Arctica from 1 to 3 p.m. I hope you guys can make it. Once again, I want to thank y'all for all your support during my stay in the hospital. Let everybody know real quick that this is going to be an ongoing thing, however. The doctors have informed me that basically I got to stay inside of a virtual little protective bubble to keep me away from bacteria, and that if I did go in, then I'd be in danger of getting pseudomonas, pneumonia, which is also kind of heavy in the hospitals that I'm pretty sensitive to. So I got it coming at me whether I'm in the hospital or out of the hospital. All I can do is try to be careful. So I never will know in the future when I'm going to be in and when I'm going to be out. So you guys may have to just kind of keep your ears peeled. But if I do end up going in again, I will always try to find somebody to fill in for me. Other than that, I don't know how I want to finish filling out the rest of the time card for now. I know that I think I already told everybody who next Thursday's guest is going to be. I had it out there just a minute ago. That's December. We're already in January. Well, don't have time to tell you anyway. The thing just went on. Oh, that is Jordan Maxwell. We'll be discussing the old-time religion with Gordon Maxwell next Thursday. Thank you very much. Y'all have a good one. And Willie, thank you for coming. I really enjoyed our talk. And I'll be in touch with you as time goes on.
I hope. I send you good prayers, Roy.
Thank you, Willie. You have a good one.
Bye-bye. You too.
Listening to Revolution Radio. Revolution Radio.
You don't see it, do you? How close we are to absolute chaos? The sick ones are sitting on their fat asses, eating and drink themselves into a stupor, polluting the world without a second thought while it goes down the toilet. Nobody wants to do the nasty work. You know, the shit that we all just think about. Most good citizens are just along for the ride and then bitch and moan and complain about everything when it doesn't work out. Not me. Get it done.
Revolution Radio, where we do the nasty work. www.freedomslips.com